Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, July 26th, 2024. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Jonah Booker in just a moment. A lot of good stuff for J-Book and I to get into. I'm going to get J-Book's thoughts on his main takeaways from Media Days, which wrapped up yesterday. All of Ohio State stuff was on Tuesday. I was there. I'm just curious to get J-Book's thoughts on what stood out to him the most. And then the crux of the show, J-Book and I are going to get into the true freshmen. They're going to play the most this year for the Buckeyes and contribute the most. It's not going to be a long list. We know that. And we know where it starts. Jeremiah Smith. What about after that? And what are J-Book's expectations for Jeremiah Smith as a true freshman? So we're going to get into all that stuff. Now, I do want to make sure I can start the Friday show off with J-Book getting a nice laugh at my expense. But hey, as Patrick Murphy has told you guys, and I've told you, Joy Mode is a fantastic product. I think I speak for most men when I say we want to have better sex. And for the sake of our partner, we may need to have better sex. The issue is that over-the-counter pills contain unregulated chemicals, suggest unsafe doses, and include the risk of several other health problems. That's why we partnered with our friends over at Joy Mode. Whether you're looking to spice up your intimate moments to increase your confidence in the bedroom, Joy Mode makes all natural and science-backed supplements dedicated to helping men perform better across their core functions. Go to usejoymode.com/bucknuts and get 20% off with code Bucknuts at checkout. That's 20% off and free shipping with code Bucknuts at usejoymode.com/bucknuts. Great sex solved naturally. There you go. You don't want to solve it unnaturally. That's what J-Book taught me. I'm just basically repeating what you told me, right?
Bound, chicka, bound, Dave. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. You're like, don't get me involved in any of this. Don't get me involved. Yeah, I know. I'm glad we can start off with Friday seeing your beautiful smile. Always nice. Okay, so I'm so close to the fire, it's hard to tell. Is Media Days a big day in your universe? Are you watching every minute? Are you kind of not interested? Just where are you at on your interest level in Media Days, and then what stood out to you the most from this 3-day adventure?
Well, I'm always listening whenever the coaches or the players are speaking, because I feel like you can always pick up some type of nuggets. They always drop a little something here and there that, if you pay close attention, that I think is fascinating. I'm not going crazy oh my God, Media Days or anything like that, but I do pay attention. And once Media Day starts, that right there signals to me camp is right around the corner. You never want to wish the summer away, wish the days away, take every day, as a blessing that you're here. But as Media Days start to come around, that's when you really start to get that itch. We're spring ball is going to be summer ball is going to be picking up here pretty soon. Some of the fans are going to be able to get into practice here within the next week or two to actually see the team.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I don't even know where to start. Obviously, me, I had to ask the sexiest question. I had the first one for Ryan Day. I'm asking about the offensive line. I mean, I really did. I was like, quarterback, he's not going to say anything. I wanted to know about the offensive line. He gave a really good answer. He said that's going to make or break our season.
Yeah.
I mean, and we all know that, but to hear he's always been a great guy to deal with, but he gets a little more honest, I think. And he was never a liar, but stuff he would mislead us a little bit. The best examples in 2019, even at Media Days, he wasn't ready to say Justin Fields was definitely the starter. And he was going up against Chris Chugginoff and Gunnar Hoke. So and we're going to get into Jeremiah Smith, what he said about that in a moment. But I just feel like he was very forthcoming, about the offensive line. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's the big question mark when it comes to the offense, man. But holy smokes, Dave, I know we're just starting off the show and it already is going to transition to Justin Fry, but how much pressure is on Justin Fry when the head coach goes in front of the national media and say, hey, it's up to you and your unit to play at a high level or we're toast. That's the bottom line. You can't get through the Big Ten grind that you're going to have to get through, as well as a 12-team playoff, if you have an offensive line that's subpar. The good news is, Dave, a lot of high praise about Josh Simmons, the way he looks, the way he's been going about his business. What did when we'll get into some of the talking points, that really stood out to me, I'll go ahead and share one right now. Jack Sawyer, his praise of Josh Simmons, saying that he's the most athletic player on the entire team. Think about how elite Ohio State recruits. To say Josh Simmons is the most athletic player, and when it comes to how well he moves, how he's able to move his feet, how he's able to lock guys out, use his power. Sawyer said the only person that he's seen equivalent to that, not comparing him, is Paris Johnson. So if you're saying that Josh Simmons' play right now is, somewhere in that Paris Johnson neck of the woods, you're talking about a first round, at worst, a second round tackle. So to have that high type of caliber offensive tackle protecting your quarterback's blind side, Dave, that right there is something that really stood out to me. And, pressure's on the offensive line, but I feel much better about having a guy with that type of high-end talent on that left side.
All right, let's look at the true freshmen that are going to play and contribute the most this year. It's not a long list because this team is stacked with veterans. As great of a class as this is. Now, we know Jeremiah Smith, and Ryan Day basically said Jeremiah Smith's going to start from day one. I found that interesting. He didn't beat around the bush. He was like, yeah, we're curious to see like receivers 3 through 6, how that kind of shapes up. And he names Carnell Tate. He names Brandon Ennis. Well, I'm sure he'll be 3 and 4. And he's like Bryson Rogers, Jaden Ballard. Who's going to be those 3? Who's going to really fill out that depth? And one of the reporters caught on, was like, okay, so you didn't mention Emeka and you didn't mention Jeremiah Smith. So safe to say Jeremiah Smith's going to be a starter. And Ryan kind of went, yeah, it's pretty safe to say that. So we know Jeremiah Smith is going to play the most of the freshmen, and he's going to be a starter. He's going to contribute the most. Where are you at year one on him? Like, are your expectations through the roof? Like, he's definitely going over 1,000 yards. You're like, well, they're going to move. They're going to have, to give Emeka his, and they're going to run the ball. Where are you at with Jeremiah Smith? Your expectations year one?
He's going to be one of the guys that can pop the top off the defense. He's going to be someone that defenses will have to account for. When you look at this Ohio State offense, you're going to have to recognize where number 4 is at all times. He's going to be your big play difference maker. Will he get over 1,000 yards as a freshman? I'm doubtful. Can he do it? Absolutely. But I do truly think that they're going to try to get Emeka that wide receiver record. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets fed, quite a bit of targets to try to get him on the brink of breaking that record. But JJ is going to be someone that, definitely will be a household name by the end of the season, Dave. I mean, he already is, but, because of all of the hype and the buzz nationally that he received with his play on the field, that's where I think that is now going to take him to that next stratosphere. Because if he can come in and absolutely dominate as a true freshman, Dave, you're talking about a guy that, freshman All-American, going into next season, preseason All-American, depending on if he has a, stellar season. But sky is the limit, man. You can't put a ceiling on what Jeremiah Smith can do, because only the quarterback can stop him and only JJ can stop him.
All right. Who's going to play and contribute the second most of the true freshmen? I think it's a pretty clear answer. I'm curious if you agree.
All right. Here's what I got, Dave. I have 2 guys who's going to play a lot, and I was looking at their recruiting rankings, and the crazy thing about it is this was a top 5 recruiting class. Actually, I have 3. This is a top 5 recruiting class, Dave. But 2 of the guys that I have that is going to probably play the most, they were not even ranked. They were the 2 bottom guys out of the, bottom 3 guys in your class, Jalen McClain and Sam William Dixon. Those guys were not even nationally ranked as prospects coming out of high school. Sam William Dixon was the 85th ranked running back. He's going to play a lot this year, Dave. And then you look at Jalen McClain, safety out of New Jersey, the 48th ranked safety. Tremendous spring from Jalen McClain. I thought that he exceeded all expectations. Obviously Malik Harford's going to be in the mix. When you have a 3-safety defense that Jim Knowles likes to run, there's been a lot of talk about Jalen McClain being in that 2 deep, potentially getting some starter reps once, they need to be able to rotate guys in and out because they're going to be very conscious about how many reps these guys are playing, especially early on in the season. Sam Williams-Dixon and Jalen McClain, they're going to see the field. The other one is Eddrick Houston. I think Eddrick Houston is going to push for some type of playing time. Now, we look at, our starters. We already know that the starters are going to be set. The next wave of guys is going to be Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson. Kenyatta Jackson didn't have that great of a spring that they were hoping. They thought Kenyatta Jackson was going to take that next step in the spring. You really didn't see it. But what did you see? You saw a true freshman coming in with that junkyard dog mentality in Eddrick Houston, 5-star out of Georgia. He came in and started really, opening some eyes. So will he push Kenyatta Jackson in the fall to be in that second rotation with Caden Curry? I think that's going to be a battle to keep an eye on. But either way that you slice it, I think Eddrick Houston will absolutely get some playing time here.
So you named my number 3. So Jeremiah Smith is 1. Then you skipped over my 2. You went 3, 4, and 5. So you got my 3, 4, and 5. You got Eddrick Houston. You got Sam Williams-Dixon. You got Jalen McClain. And I have one more in my top 6. You didn't get my number 2, James Peoples.
Oh, how could I forget that one? Yes, James Peoples. You're right.
Yeah, just because, first of all, I think he's a really good player. He reminds me, and as I've said before, he reminds me a lot of Boom Herron, but a better version. And I don't say that lightly because Boom was a very good back here and then played, for a handful of years in the NFL. He's a little bit bigger than Boom. He reminds me of the way Boom runs. Maybe has a little bit better speed. But, man, if he can be as tough and, hit the holes like Boom did, we're going to be in good shape here. So I think because of the lack of numbers there, obviously, they got the best 1-2 punch in college football, but I think James Peoples is going to be that number 3. I think Sam Williams-Dixon is going to be, a guy that they're going to have to play. They only have 4 scholarship running backs. Ryan Day told me when I asked him, are you concerned about depth? He kind of said, not really, because it's rare we're, down to a 5th running back. And I'm thinking in the back of my mind, well, what about the Peach Bowl? You were down to beyond your 5th running back. But anyway, they were trying to whisk him away. So I had to get my questions in and out, like when I was doing my one-on-one. So I'm going James Peoples. I had Eddrick Houston. I have Sam Williams-Dixon. Then I have Jalen McClain. And then the last one, Julian Sand.
Ooh.
Because I think he's going to be the number 3. I think he'll be the number 3. And then if an injury happens or maybe Devin Brown's not, and I don't think he's going to start or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being the number 2 by the end of the year. And then if Will ends up needing like a break or something, that's why I have him. I don't think he's going to play a lot, but I think he will be the starter next year. And I think he'll be the number 3 this year. So I'm going Julian Sand's another one I have on my list, man.
Yeah. And I will say this, Dave, just, you can't bank on that they're going to get a significant amount of playing time, but we've talked about it ad nauseum regarding those first 4 games, even potentially the Iowa game, first 5 games before you actually go to Oregon. You're going to be looking at, starters probably out mid-3rd quarter. So what's the makeup of that second team offensive line? You could see a situation where Ian Moore, the Armstrong twins may fill out that second team unit on the offensive line. If that's the case, Dave, then you could probably see a couple of those younger guys like that on the offensive line. No diddy.
It didn't go over my head that time, Pete. I didn't even hear it last time. I think I tried to not tune you out. People were like, I think it went over Bid's head. I'm like, I didn't even hear it. That's so funny. Where people are having fun with. At first, I was like, "What are they talking about?" And then I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even hear him say it." That's so funny. Christopher's on point though. He heard it. It. Yeah, Bonsu, another one, man. That's another thing. These safeties are interesting, man.
I love the New Jersey. These New Jersey dudes, they're coming in. They may not be. I don't know, man. I feel like the recruiting service do the New Jersey prospects a disservice because you can't measure heart. You can't measure the intangibles of a guy who has mentally tough. These New Jersey kids, they're tough, man. And I love what you're seeing from these prospects because they come in and play with a chip on their shoulder. They may not be the most highly regarded prospects, man, but they come in and they're not afraid. They're not afraid to compete. Sometimes when you get to Ohio State, regardless how how good you are, how good your rankings are. Sometimes the stage is just too big for a lot of players, and it takes them a while to get their footing. These New Jersey kids, they come in with a nasty attitude. I mean that in a good way. They come in with an attitude that, hey, I'm ready to compete. I don't care. I'm trying to get it out the mud, and I'm trying to make something out of my career. Nothing but respect for those New Jersey prospects.
A man named Jack Tatum was from Jersey.
Yeah.
Hardest hitter in Ohio State history. I never saw him play live. You definitely never saw him play live, but
right.
Oh gosh. I never knew until years later when he paralyzed poor Daryl Stingley that was in a preseason game. I saw the hit. I always thought that was a regular season game. Jeff Rapp just casually told me one time, yeah, no, isn't it crazy? It was in a preseason game. And I'm like, what? That was a preseason game? He's out there paralyzing dudes. Jack Tatum, another Jersey guy. What do you think about what I said about Julian Sand? You seem kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I think he's going to get some reps because I think they want to see what he can actually do. But I don't know how much, Dave, because the one thing, and we can transition also into, some of the key points that we wanted to talk about as far as what we heard at the media days. And that kind of segments me into this next comment. I think that they're going to make a decision sooner rather than later on who's going to be the starting quarterback. I think Ryan Day learned from last year. I think there were some dates, mid-August maybe, potentially, naming the starter quarterback. And I think it's going to be, the transfer. And I think Devin Brown's going to be your backup. Will Howard to be your starter. And then at that point, Dave, I think you have to try to get Devin Brown as many reps as possible, just in case. If something happens to Will Howard, you need to have Devin Brown ready to go. He doesn't need to, get on the field due to an injury or due to a blowout and the stage is too big for him. So try to get him as many reps as possible. And if you can squeeze in a true freshman in Julian Sand, then so be it. But I'm not holding my breath that he's going to get a significant amount of playing time. But that's interesting that you think so. I could be wrong, Dave. I mean, who knows? Hey, who knows? The way this kid playing, he might go into camp and absolutely light it up. And then you're talking about who's going to be the second team quarterback is up for debate.
And just to be clear, we'll get more into this. I do have to do a read in just a sec, and another one that J-Books can laugh at me. Just to be clear, I wrote 6 guys down because I don't think a lot of true freshmen are going to play this year. There'll be guys that see the field that won't redshirt. And maybe I'm leaving a few guys out here, but so again, mine in order are Jeremiah Smith, shockingly, James Peoples, Eddrick Houston, Sam Williams-Dixon. And because of depth, you really could flip 4 and 3 on my list. You really put Sam Williams-Dixon 3rd and Eddrick Houston 4th, just because the depth at D end is better than the depth at running back. Like even Mitchell Melton right now is penciled in as the number 5 D end, Eddrick Houston number 6 D end. But like Jay Book said, I mean, Kenyatta Jackson needs to show a lot more than he did in the spring. I've always been high on Kenyatta Jackson. I'm still high on him, but because he looks like straight out of central casting for an NFL rush end with his length and everything. Okay, and then 5th I have Jalen McClain.
Okay.
So 6th I have Julian Sands. So there's a reason he's last on my list. I'm not acting like Julian Sands is going to play a lot this year, but I just wanted to clarify that I don't think a lot of guys are going to play, but Julian Sands, I have him 6th. I was kind of tempted to put him 5th, but you laid out exactly why I have Jalen McClain 5th.
Here's a sleeper, Mylan Graham.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
And here's the reason why. Yeah. What did Ryan Day say at the podium? He needs those younger wide receivers, especially Jalen Ballard, to step up. I'm throwing my hands out, Dave. We've heard this. Right. We've heard this for 3 years that you've been saying Jaden Ballard needs to step up. I mean, the clock is about to strike 12 on this kid's career, man, and you're still talking about we need him to step up. So if you get a 5-star player in Mylan Graham, that comes in and he performs at a high level and he's someone that's catching some waves and he's feeling it and he's out there dicing boys up and you're still looking around saying, hey, we need Kojo and, Jalen Ballard, these type of guys to step up, and they aren't stepping up. Mylan Graham is someone who has an opportunity to slide in there to potentially be that 4th, 5th wide receiver that can crack that rotation if they're going to be able to rotate some of these guys in and out like they want to.
That's a good one. I'm going to slide him in at number 7 here. I didn't write him down. Like, there you go. There's number 7, Mr. Mylan Graham. They're deep at D tackle, so I don't know if the Eric Mensah young man will really play because they're so damn deep at D tackle.
Let me ask you this.
What's that?
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What's your take on Jaden Ballard, man? What do you think the issues are? Like, I feel like this kid has unreal talent, but something's just not right. Something's not clicking.
Yeah, I think there's just been too many. I haven't seen like a ton of drops out there, but I think it must be his hands. I think it must be that simple. He's just not making enough plays because he's got speed. Could be route running. Could be just, I don't know if he's had fun. They're not going to. It's like the Dallin Hayden example. Like I think we did finally crack the code on that was pass protection. We thought it was fumbling issues because there was all kinds of hints from Ryan Day that it was fumbling issues. Maybe it's a combination of both. So yeah, it's probably something like that. Like fumbling, just poor route running, just not doing the things the coaches want. Because speed's not an issue with him. Vertical's not a problem with him. He can jump out the gym. He's the best. Right. They had a dunk contest. He won it. I almost said if they had a dunk contest, he would win. It's like, wait a minute. They did have one, and he did win it. Yeah, it's not anything. And he was like a big-time prospect, too. So I'm with you on Mylan Graham. I like that he's flying kind of under the radar.
Yeah.
I obviously wish he would have had some spring ball under his belt. He didn't get here till June, but he's a big-time prospect. I'm glad you mentioned him.
Can we just tell Jaden Ballard not to fair catch the punt on the 5-yard line?
Right. Oh gosh.
I mean,
maybe now that Parker Fleming is.
Yeah, I was about to say maybe that was Parker Fleming telling them to do that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. All right, real quick. Sizzle alert. This summer, let the only thing smoking at your barbecue be the grill, not your grooming game. Get ready for the ultimate cookout season with Manscaped. Whether you're flipping burgers or cannonballing into the pool, make sure your meat looks neat with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. Fire up your grooming routine and keep it cool with Manscaped. Head to manscaped.com. Use code Bucknuts for 20% off and free shipping. Let's make this summer sizzle for all the right reasons. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Bucknuts at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code Bucknuts. Manscaped, the perfect way to get your patties sizzling hot this summer. There we go. All right, so Sam Williams-Dixon is interesting to me. There's no doubt he's going to play. I mean, no doubt. Maybe there's a little – I think even with T.C. Caffey, he probably wouldn't have redshirted. Probably wasn't going to play a lot. Now, I mean, he's the number 4 tailback. There's just no doubt about it. And Ryan Day said he likes all 4 of our – obviously, we know he likes the starters, but he said he likes all 4 of them. He's a mystery to me because obviously he tore it up when he was at the smaller school. Came to Pick North, and I gave him credit for doing that. Came to Pick North, but got banged up. Nothing serious. Looked good to me in the spring. Just what do you make of Sam Williams-Dixon?
Love his game. I'm curious to know where he weighs in at right now because he came in at 5'11", 203. And everyone knows that those first couple months as a freshman, Coach Mick really packs it on with those guys. Is he around, 210, 212 maybe? Because I thought he looked a little small in the spring. But that's to be expected. First semester on campus is going to take a little bit for your body to adjust. But he's a natural running back, Dave. Extremely athletic, can, hit that second gear if he gets in the open. Great vision. Pass protection is going to be a question mark. It's always going to be a question mark when you're talking about a true freshman. When you have a 6'3", 250, 255, 21-year-old linebacker coming down the barrel in the Big Ten, are you going to be able to stick your nose in there to help protect your quarterback? That's something that you don't know until the bullets really start flying with a true freshman running back. But he's going to get his shot, man. He's going to get his shot to be able to make a name for himself. Like I said, 85th ranked running back. He could be a gem. We could look at him. I know, the fan base bags on Tony Alford, and, Tony has done a lot of things to deserve that type of criticism. But we could look back and say getting James People and Sam Williams-Dixon, 2 really good freshman running backs, helps the transition going into the future here. But regardless of what Tony did, the numbers are still low in that room because of him. But I think Sam Williams-Dixon, Dave, I mean, if I have him, 40, touches this year, 45 to 50 touches this year, because, if you're looking at the blowouts, splitting that between him and James People, see what you can do, kid. If you can, knock some big runs off there, then hey, they'll trust you a little bit more. But the biggest thing in college football, though, Dave, is coaches. You have to be able to show coaches that you can pass block as a youngster. That was the one thing that was so great about Ezekiel Elliott. Zeke came in and would lay the lumber as a true freshman pass blocking. Like, that's a rarity, though. But you look at, and we've seen Zeke come in here, and Zeke didn't get a ton of touches as a true freshman as well. But the one thing that really got him on the field was, one, he was tough as nails. He went down there and made some, bone-crushing hits on kickoff team. And I don't know if these kids should even be on kickoff team, considering that the numbers are so low at the running back position. But two, Zeke was not afraid to pass block. So those are two things that you have to be able to come in there and be willing to knock somebody's block off in pass protection. And if you can do that, you can see the field here.
He might be the best blocking running back I've ever seen, and not just in pass pro. My favorite one was when he was basically the lead blocker for JT Barrett in the 2015 Michigan game in Ann Arbor. He took Jabril Peppers and just tossed him about 10 yards on this lead block, just destroyed him.
Yeah.
And Jabril Peppers, for whatever we want to say about him, like, is a pretty, well put together athlete. And Zeke just literally, he went flying. Now, Peppers was trying to jump over him, and Zeke said nope, and just destroyed him. But I've never seen a better blocking running back. And then you add the fact of how explosive he was as a runner. Zeke, so damn good. That's why.
Before we get out of here, we're getting a ton of questions and comments about David Sanders.
Great minds. I was going to say, let's finish the show talking about David Sanders. Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think?
John is saying 25%, and Mrs. Sanchez is saying, John, that's a low percentage. So I'm going Mrs. Sanchez. You're right. You and I have talked a lot about this. I'm like at 60% now. I think they're going to get him, but I'm not betting the farm or anything, though.
Yeah. The two visits to Tennessee and Nebraska is interesting. I've heard, just listening and reading, Ohio State actually supposedly invited David Sanders to come onto campus this weekend, but it didn't happen. And he's going to make those visits. Just looking over on the Tennessee boards on Vol Nation, there's a post over there who claims to know supposedly what's going on, behind the scenes. They're saying that Ohio State has made a significant, crazy offer NIL-wise to David Sanders Jr., like crazy, quarterback type numbers for him. So I know, talking to Brian, those guys, they felt like that they're going to get him here. I think it's going to come down to relationships, Dave. We're hoping that Justin Fry can close this deal. This is going to be a critical recruiting for him. He has to close him. I mean, there's been some smoke about, Ohio State's surging for Josh Petty. I'm not buying that. I think that's clickbait. I mean, that kid's recruitment has been pretty quiet for the most part. And now all of a sudden that, he's visiting Georgia Tech this weekend. He's been a heavy lean towards Florida State for the longest period of time, where his sister goes. I'm not buying any of the Josh Petty.
He's trying to leverage them for more money too. When this day and age, that's like a real thing. Yeah.
Right. So I'm not buying any of the Josh Petty smoke that's out there. So right now, you have to land David Sanders. If not, there's nobody else. Justin Fry didn't cast a wide enough net. So you have to essentially go reevaluate senior tape of some kids that you consider diamond in the rough prospects and try to bring them in. That's kind of where we're at under Justin Fry right now. It's like, hey, you haven't recruited well enough to be able to bring in a functioning depth chart of offensive linemen because of the recruiting misses. So that's why it makes it incredibly important. But the one thing that I thought, to keep in mind, this is going to be David Sanders' 7th visit to Tennessee. What more do you need to know? And some of the comments from the 24/7 board, Callahan over there, their insider, he said, David Sanders, that at Tennessee, he doesn't feel the pressure that he feels from other schools and other coaches. I thought that was an interesting comment because we understand what the pressure is for Justin Fry to land this type of kid. Does he feel pressure when he's dealing with Ohio State? But 5 visits to Tennessee since April, that's something that to keep an eye on, because what do they always say, Dave, in recruiting? You followed it long enough. Don't listen to their words, look at their actions. Action says that Tennessee is a legitimate threat here, that the fact that this is this kid's 7th visit within a year. So action says that he really likes what he's seeing there. And it's unfortunate that Ohio State's may not get this visit right before he heads into his practices for the fall. But fingers crossed, man. I still got Ohio State landing them, but I'm backing off how confident I was over the last several weeks because of the actions that we're starting to see right now. But make no mistake, Ohio State, we're deep in the trenches when it comes to the NIL game for this kid. They're not going down without having an actual fight. It's just that Tennessee right now, for whatever reason, definitely has his attention.
It's going to be a fun one. Well, hopefully it ends as a fun one for the Buckeyes, but it's going to be an interesting one, and we'll find out here in about 3 weeks. So, David Sanders Jr., it's going to be huge. And I wonder if the Buckeyes do land him, if people are going to be like, yeah, but not really give Justin Fry credit. Be like, yeah, they just got him because of NIL. No, I say that.
If he gets him, man, Justin Fry gets credit because
I agree.
The NIL can only get you so far. The position coach has to be able to, like we said, Dave, we compared it to the tush push. NIL can get you down to the 2 to 3 yard line, but it's going to be up to that coach to be able to close the deal here. And Justin Fry has to close the deal. And I know it makes Ohio State fans uneasy because the lack of success being able to close high-end recruits on the offensive line, man. But my goodness, they got to get them, Dave. They have to get them.
Got to get them. Like you said, they didn't cast a wide enough net. It's like, man, they put a lot of eggs in this basket. Let's hope they come home to roost. All right. Well, great stuff as always, man. Great stuff as always. There's a reason you're a huge fan favorite. Thank you very much to Mr. Jonah Booker. J-Book comes strong as always. And thanks to all of you. We appreciate it very much. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day and a great weekend.